Every week we ask you to vote online in our Friday Lightning Round poll for your favorite panel for the Lightning Round. This week you chose the first hearing of the Benghazi Select Committee. We're back with our panel. Steve, we cornered the chairman of that committee, Trey Gowdy, for a special report online on Wednesday. He was gracious enough to come by after a live interview. We asked him about these new allegations about the former State Department official who says that there was essentially a paper separation of what they were going to turn over to the Accountability Review Board. This is Mr. Maxwell. Take a listen.
I did talk to Mr. Maxwell. There was an apprehension on his behalf that if he came forward that there would be retribution, which is understandable. A lot of witnesses have that concern. But in fairness, if you were going to examine Mr. Maxwell, you would ask him, why didn't you come forward sooner? And you would also ask him, who else was in the room that can corroborate your version of what happened? And that's the only way I know to run an investigation. Who else can tell us whether this happened or not, and then go interview them?
So it sounds like it's going to be pretty methodical.
Methodical, and I was glad to hear that he's bringing skepticism to the side that would, presumably enhance the case that Republicans were making. I mean, that's a story that Raymond Maxwell is telling, that he witnessed this, and Trey Gowdy saying, in effect, look, we're not buying it. We're going to investigate it. We're going to make sure that it's true, or determine whether it's true or not. I thought he said several things that were like that. That's what was notable about that first hearing, was it was sort of devoid of politics.
The DNC chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, AB, this piece in Politico was clearly the long knives. A lot of people pointed to the White House. Since then, a lot of it, you can see it, it's a big piece about how she's not doing her job at the DNC. Then there was all this outpouring, how she's great, and she even defended herself on Twitter. What about this?
Well, I read all the reporting, and I think that it really actually makes President Obama look worse than Debbie Wasserman Schultz. He is running a centralized and insular administration. They don't make or keep friends in the Democratic Party unless they're donors. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was not a hand-picked leader from Nancy Pelosi or anything else. She has earned the respect in this town of other Democrats through hard work from the membership up. And any elected who runs the Republican National Committee or the Democratic National Committee is going to have their own pack and keeping their eye on their own political future. That is absolutely par for the course. So I think it's actually says a lot about this White House. If they wanted to heave her in 2012, they should have, and they didn't.
Josh Earnest issued the most tepid endorsement of her when he was asked about a story that reminded me of a classic story about the chairman of the chemistry department at a major university who's stricken and hospitalized and receives a message that by a vote of 9-7, the faculty has voted to wish him well. That's exactly how the White House has treated her.
There's a report, NBC's reporting, that feds are not going, they haven't found anything that connects Chris Christie to Bridgegate, so-called. He's come out and said, well, we'll see where this all goes. But what about this report and the potential impact for Chris Christie?
Look, I think it's very important because if anybody's going to be relatively impartial in this inquiry, it's going to be the feds, and I think it helps him in saying, I didn't do it, and it will begin to fade into the past even more than it has.
They publicly say they've reached no conclusions. Go ahead.
You know what? The donors are still too afraid to give Chris Christie money. They think there's more shoes to drop. So it's good for him, but in terms of 2016, I think it could be too late.
I expect wall-to-wall coverage on a variety of cable networks and in the mainstream media of this new and important finding.
Maybe one that has 4 letters.